Welcome to my channel Old Valuable Chiller. Today, we are deep diving into fascinating story. The Canadian 1-cent coin from the year 2000 is a fascinating piece of Canadian numismatic history. This small copper-plated steel coin may look ordinary at first glance, but it carries with it history, significance, and collectible value that many coin collectors and enthusiasts truly appreciate. The Canadian penny, as it is commonly known, has long been a symbol of the nation's everyday currency, and the year 2000 issue holds a special place in the timeline of Canadian coins. Minted by the Royal Canadian Mint, the 1-cent coin from 2000 features the familiar design that Canadians had known for decades. On the obverse side of the coin, you will find the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Petter Hunt. This portrait of the Queen, introduced in 1990, remained on Canadian coins until 2003. The detailed artwork shows the Queen facing right, wearing a crown, with the Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Regina, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. On the reverse side of the coin, you will see the iconic maple leaf twig design created by G. Kruger Gray, which first appeared on Canadian pennies in 1937. The maple leaf, a national symbol of Canada, makes this coin instantly recognizable. The reverse also displays the word Canada, the face value of 1 cent, and the date of issue, 2000. The composition of the 2000 Canadian 1-cent coin is also worth noting. By this time, the Royal Canadian Mint had transitioned away from the traditional bronze alloy used in earlier decades. Instead, the 2000 penny was struck in copper-plated steel, which made production more economical. The coin weighs approximately 2.25 grams and has a diameter of 19.1 millimeters. This shift in composition is significant because it reflects how the mint adapted to rising metal costs while still maintaining the traditional look of the penny. Collectors often study the composition and variations of coins like these, making the 2000 Canadian penny an important piece for those interested in modern Canadian numismatics. When talking about rarity and mintage, it's important to understand that the year 2000 penny is not considered rare in circulation. In fact, millions of them were produced, and they were widely used across Canada. However, coin collectors often look for special variations, mint errors, or high-grade uncirculated examples of this coin. For instance, coins that were preserved in mint state condition without scratches, wear, or discoloration can be more valuable than those that circulated in everyday use. Some collectors also look for proof-like versions of the 2000 1-cent coin, which were struck with extra care for collector sets. These proof-like coins often feature sharper details and a shinier surface, making them desirable to numismatists. Although the 2000 Canadian penny may not be extremely rare, its importance comes from being part of the larger story of the Canadian 1-cent coin. The penny had been a staple of Canadian currency since 1858, but over time, inflation reduced its buying power, and eventually, the cost of producing the penny outweighed its usefulness. This led to the decision by the Canadian government and the Royal Canadian Mint to stop producing pennies after 2012. Today, the penny is no longer used in everyday transactions, making earlier issues like the 2000 penny a reminder of Canada's monetary history. For many collectors and even ordinary Canadians, the penny holds sentimental value because it was part of daily life for generations. For coin collectors, the 2000 Canadian 1-cent coin can be a great starting point for a collection. Since it is affordable and widely available, beginners can easily find examples to add to their coin albums. At the same time, more advanced collectors often seek out uncirculated or certified versions, looking for coins with sharp strikes, full details, and no visible wear. High-grade examples can be worth more than face value, especially if graded by reputable coin certification services. While circulated examples may only be worth a cent or slightly more, pristine coins in mint state condition can appeal to those who specialize in Canadian decimal coinage. Another interesting aspect of the 2000 Canadian penny is its connection to Canadian identity. The maple leaf design has long been a patriotic emblem, appearing not only on coins but also on the Canadian flag and in many cultural symbols. Having the maple leaf on the 1-cent coin ties the smallest denomination of Canadian money to the broader story of national pride. It reminds Canadians of their heritage and their connection to the natural beauty of the country. Even though the penny is no longer minted, the design still resonates with people and remains a cherished part of Canada's coinage history. When exploring the market for the 2000 Canadian penny, values depend largely on condition and presentation. Circulated coins are very common, and they are usually worth just face value to a little more. However, if you come across a coin that has been carefully preserved, shows no signs of wear, and still shines as if it just left the mint, it could have added value. Collectors often use magnifying tools to check the details, such as the sharpness of the maple leaves, the clarity of the queen's portrait, and the overall luster of the coin. Proof-like or specimen sets from the Royal Canadian Mint also add another dimension of collectability, since these coins were produced in limited numbers for collectors and tend to have higher quality strikes. One cannot ignore the historical context when discussing the 2000 penny. This was a time of transition in Canadian coinage, with advances in minting technology and changes in composition that reflected the challenges of modern coin production. While the 2000 penny might not be the rarest coin, it represents an era of Canadian history that bridges the traditional use of the penny with the eventual phasing out of the denomination. Collectors often value coins not only for rarity but also for the story they tell, and the 2000 penny tells a story of tradition, adaptation, and national identity. Today, many Canadians still keep jars or boxes filled with pennies, including those from the year 2000, as keepsakes or collectibles. Some people even use them in crafts, jewelry, or art projects, giving the penny a second life beyond circulation. Others carefully store them in albums, preserving them as part of a larger Canadian coin collection. Whether you view the 2000 Canadian penny as a simple piece of pocket change, a nostalgic reminder of daily life, or a collectible worth preserving, it holds meaning in different ways for different people. The 2000 Canadian 1-cent coin is an excellent example of how even the smallest denomination can carry history, culture, and significance. From its iconic maple leaf design to its connection with the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, this coin tells a story that extends far beyond its face value. Collectors continue to study, trade, and preserve these coins, ensuring that the legacy of the Canadian penny lives on even after it disappeared from circulation. If you are starting a coin collection or simply appreciate Canadian history, the 2000 penny is a piece worth keeping, examining, and learning about. Next up, the Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003 is one of the fascinating coins from Canada that continues to attract collectors, coin enthusiasts, and people who are passionate about Canadian currency history. The Canadian penny, also called the 1-cent coin, has been an essential part of Canadian money for decades. The 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin is especially interesting because of its design, history, and collectible value. In this video, we are going to take a deep dive into everything about the Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003, discussing its origin, minting, design features, composition, variations, and why it remains a significant piece in Canadian coin collecting today. The Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003 features the famous maple leaf twig design that was originally created by G. Kruger Gray in 1937. This design shows two maple leaves on a single twig, and it became one of the most recognized symbols of Canada on coinage. For decades, the maple leaf penny has been a Canadian icon, and in 2003, this design was still in circulation, capturing the heritage and identity of Canada. The maple leaf has always been a strong symbol for Canadians, representing pride, resilience, and national unity. On the obverse side of the Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003, we see the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II. However, the 2003 penny is notable because it comes with two different obverse varieties. In 2003, the Royal Canadian Mint introduced a new portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by artist Susanna Blunt. This was the first time since 1965 that a new portrait of the Queen appeared on Canadian coins. The 2003 1-cent coin exists in both the older effigy by Dora de Petterhunt, which had been used since 1990, and the new Susanna Blunt portrait. That means collectors can find two versions of the 2003 Canadian penny, making it an exciting year for Canadian numismatics. The transition between effigies makes the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin highly collectible. Many collectors search for both versions, the older obverse showing a crowned Queen Elizabeth II and the newer obverse showing an uncrowned effigy of the Queen facing right. This dual variety adds extra value and uniqueness to the Canadian 1-cent coin 2003. In terms of composition, the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin was struck in copper-plated zinc. The Royal Canadian Mint shifted to this composition in the late 1990s as a way to reduce costs while still maintaining the traditional look of the penny. Before that, Pennies were made from bronze and copper alloys, but by 2003, the use of copper-plated zinc had become standard. The coin has a weight of 2.35 grams, a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and a smooth edge. These specifications remain consistent for Canadian 1-cent coins during this period. The 2003 Canadian penny was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint facilities, and millions were produced for circulation across Canada. Despite the high mintage, the variations in design and obverse effigy make it a year of special interest. Collectors often seek examples in uncirculated or mint condition, as well as proof or specimen sets produced by the mint. One of the fascinating aspects of the Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003 is that it came just a few years before Canada officially stopped producing pennies altogether. The Canadian government discontinued the 1-cent coin in 2012, meaning that the 2003 penny was among the final decade of circulating Canadian pennies. This adds historical importance to the 2003 1-cent coin, as it represents one of the last chapters of the penny in Canadian circulation. Collectors also pay attention to errors and varieties in the 2003 Canadian penny. Error coins, such as off-cent strikes, die cracks, or double dies, can significantly increase the value of the coin. Because of the transition between effigies, some coins also display slight variations in striking, which can be interesting to numismatists who study details closely. These varieties make the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin more than just a simple piece of change. It becomes part of a larger story of Canadian minting history. When it comes to value, the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin in circulated condition is usually worth face value, but uncirculated or high-grade examples can carry a premium. Collectors especially like to own both effigy varieties in brilliant uncirculated condition or as part of proof-like sets. Over time, as more pennies are removed from circulation and collectors preserve them, the demand for coins like the 2003 1-cent penny will likely increase. The cultural significance of the Canadian 1-cent coin should not be overlooked. For many Canadians, the penny was part of daily life for generations. The 2003 penny carries with it the memory of buying candy, saving change in jars, and the classic expression "a penny for your thoughts." The removal of the penny from circulation in 2012 was a major event, but coins like the 2003 penny continue to keep that memory alive. The design of the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin is timeless, with the maple leaf twig being one of the longest-lasting coin designs in Canadian history. The maple leaf itself is a national emblem of Canada, appearing not only on coins but also on the Canadian flag. Holding a 2003 penny in your hand is like holding a small piece of Canadian identity. From a numismatic perspective, the 2003 Canadian penny is also a teaching tool. It shows the evolution of the monarch's effigy, the changes in coin composition, and the way coins can capture both history and tradition. For new collectors, the 2003 penny is an excellent coin to start with because it is widely available, affordable, and yet historically significant due to its dual effigies. Even though the penny is no longer made in Canada, the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin remains popular in coin collections worldwide. Collectors in Canada, the United States, and internationally appreciate this small but meaningful coin. The fact that it was minted with both the Dora de Petterhunt portrait and the Susanna Blunt portrait makes it a unique year in Canadian coinage history. In conclusion, the Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003 is more than just a small copper-plated piece of metal. It represents Canada's heritage, the transition of a monarch's portrait, the shift in coin composition, and the legacy of the penny itself. Whether you are a collector, a historian, or simply someone who enjoys Canadian culture, the 2003 1-cent coin has a story worth appreciating. This coin continues to symbolize a chapter in Canadian currency that will never be forgotten, and its place in numismatics will remain strong for years to come. Next up, the United States 1-cent coin from 1987D, also known as the 1987 Denver Mint Lincoln cent, is one of the most fascinating coins for collectors and coin enthusiasts across the world. The penny has been a cornerstone of American coinage for more than a century, and the 1987D penny represents an important part of United States numismatic history. The obverse of the coin features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. Which has been in continuous use for over 100 years. This design is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history and carries deep cultural significance. The reverse of the 1987 penny shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Asparo, first introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The 1987 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark below the date. Millions of these coins were produced, making it a common coin in circulation, but collectors value it for its history, design, and condition. The composition of the 1987 penny is copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams. This change in composition began in 1982, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to switch from mostly copper pennies to copper-plated zinc cents. As a result, the 1987 D penny is not made from solid copper like older pennies, but it still retains the traditional copper appearance. Collectors often pay attention to details such as mint state condition, luster, strike quality, and errors. Some 1987 D pennies may have die cracks, off-center strikes, or other minting errors, which can increase their collectible value significantly. While most circulated examples are worth just face value, high-grade uncirculated coins or error coins can attract attention from collectors. The appeal of the 1987 D Lincoln cent lies not just in its monetary value but in its place within the long-running Lincoln cent series, which has become one of the most collected coins in the world. The Denver Mint itself has a rich history. Located in Colorado, it has produced billions of coins for the United States. The D mint mark is one of the most recognizable mint marks among collectors, and coins from Denver are known for strong strikes and high production numbers. The 1987 D penny is a product of this legacy. In terms of circulation, billions of 1987 pennies were used in everyday transactions, from buying candy in the 1980s to being saved in jars and coin rolls by families across America. This coin tells a story of American life, commerce, and tradition. For collectors today, finding a brilliant uncirculated 1987 D penny straight from a mint set or coin roll is always a rewarding experience. The shine, the detail in Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the memorial steps on the reverse, all these features make the coin stand out in mint condition. Another important detail is that the 1987 D Lincoln cent is part of a transitional era in U.S. coinage. The shift to zinc-based pennies marked a new chapter in the history of American coinage. Collectors often compare pre-1982 copper pennies with post-1982 zinc pennies, noting differences in weight, sound, and even how the coins age over time. The 1987 penny represents the zinc era, yet still carries the iconic Lincoln imagery loved by collectors worldwide. When studying the coin closely, the obverse shows the words "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's portrait, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1987 with the D mint mark to the right. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is surrounded by the words "United States of America" and the denomination 1 cent. The motto "E pluribus unum" appears above the memorial. These inscriptions carry historical and patriotic meaning, representing unity, liberty, and trust in American values. Coin enthusiasts often search for proof coins, but for 1987, proofs were only struck at the San Francisco Mint with the S mint mark. The 1987 D, being from Denver, exists only in circulation and mint set strikes. For collectors, having both the 1987 D and the 1987 P from Philadelphia is a way of completing the year's set. The 1987 D penny continues to be an accessible and affordable collectible for beginner collectors. It's a great entry point into the world of coin collecting because it is easy to find yet still rich in history. Whether found in change, purchased in uncirculated rolls, or discovered in mint sets, it offers a tangible link to the late 1980s in America. When considering the value, most 1987 D pennies in circulated condition are worth only 1 cent. However, uncirculated examples graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading standards can be worth more to collectors. Rare errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or clip planches, may fetch even higher prices. For those interested in searching coin rolls, the 1987 D penny offers a chance of discovering such varieties. The cultural significance of the Lincoln cent cannot be overstated. Since its introduction in 1909, it has been one of the most familiar coins in the United States. Abraham Lincoln, one of the nation's most beloved presidents, symbolizes unity and leadership. Every penny, including the 1987 D cent, carries that symbolism in pocket change. Today, as pennies are gradually being used less in daily transactions due to electronic payments, Coins like the 1987 D Lincoln cent gain even more importance as historical artifacts. They remind us of a time when pennies were essential for purchases and when the smallest denomination carried both value and meaning. In conclusion, the United States 1-cent coin 1987 D from the Denver Mint is more than just a small piece of change. It represents American history, numismatic tradition, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln on U.S. coinage. From its zinc composition to its timeless design, from circulation in everyday life to a collectible piece in coin albums, the 1987 D penny tells a story that continues to fascinate collectors and historians. Now we will explore the United States 1-cent coin, also known as the penny, is one of the most collected and recognized coins in American history. Today, we are going to explore in detail the 1988 D 1-cent coin from the United States, minted in Denver. This 1988 D penny holds a special place among collectors, coin enthusiasts, and history lovers because of its connection to American heritage, the Lincoln design, and its significance in U.S. coinage. Whether you are a coin collector, a beginner in numismatics, or just someone curious about pennies from the 1980s, this video will guide you through everything about the 1988 D 1-cent coin from the United States. The obverse, or front, of the 1988 D penny features the famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. This design was first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. By 1988, the Lincoln design had already been in circulation for nearly 80 years, becoming one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The Denver Mint, represented by the D Mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of these coins, making them common in circulation but still fascinating for collectors because of small details, varieties, and errors. On the reverse, the 1988 D 1-cent coin displays the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, which makes this design iconic among U.S. coins. From 1959 until 2008, this design remained a reverse of the Lincoln cent, making the 1988 D penny part of a long-running series before it was replaced by new designs in 2009. The 1988 D penny is made primarily of copper-plated zinc. From 1982 onwards, the U.S. Mint switched the composition of pennies from mostly copper to a core of zinc with a thin copper coating. This change was due to the rising cost of copper, which had made the 1-cent coin too expensive to produce. So, if you hold a 1988 D penny, you are holding a coin that represents a shift in U.S. coinage history, a move from the traditional bronze composition to modern copper-plated zinc. Collectors often search for interesting varieties and mint errors within the 1988 D pennies. Some examples include double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or coins with plating issues. These types of errors can make a coin much more valuable than its face value. While the majority of 1988 D pennies are worth only 1 cent, rarer coins can fetch higher prices among collectors. This is why examining your 1988 D penny closely with a magnifying glass or microscope is always a good idea. When it comes to condition, coin collectors use a grading system to determine the quality and value of a coin. Uncirculated 1988 D pennies, especially those with sharp details and bright red color, are the most desirable. Coins that have been in circulation for many years often show wear and discoloration, but even these can be valuable if they have unique characteristics, errors, or strong eye appeal. Collectors often look for full luster, no scratches, and clear details in the design. In terms of mintage, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1988, so they are not considered rare in general circulation. However, like with many U.S. coins, the story isn't just about rarity, it's about history, symbolism, and collecting interest. Every coin tells a story, and the 1988 D penny is a piece of U.S. history that continues to circulate even decades after it was minted. The 1988 D 1-cent coin also connects to the broader legacy of Lincoln cents. The Lincoln penny is one of the most beloved coins in the United States, featuring a president who symbolizes freedom, unity, and strength. Holding a 1988 D penny is like holding a reminder of American history in your hand, from Lincoln's leadership to the architectural beauty of the Lincoln Memorial. For coin collectors and hobbyists, building a complete collection of Lincoln Memorial cents, including the 1988 D penny, is a rewarding challenge. Many collectors enjoy searching through rolls of pennies, coin jars, or pocket change in hopes of finding a pristine 1988 D-penny or even a rarer. This makes the hobby exciting and educational. The value of the 1988 D-penny depends on condition, rarity of errors, and collector demand. While most are worth only their face value, certain high-grade examples and mint errors can bring much more. This is why it's always worth checking your coins carefully and perhaps adding them to a coin album or collection. The 1988 D 1-cent coin continues to capture interest not just in the United States, but worldwide. Collectors from many countries enjoy U.S. coins, and the Lincoln cent is often the starting point for international collectors. With its classic design, historical significance, and potential for collectible value, the 1988 D-penny remains a favorite among hobbyists. So, as we reflect on the 1988 D 1-cent coin from the United States, remember that this small piece of change carries big historical and cultural meaning. From the portrait of Abraham Lincoln to the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, from its copper-plated zinc composition to the stories of varieties and errors, the 1988 D-penny is more than just a coin. It's a connection to American history and a fascinating collectible for numismatists. If you enjoy learning about coins, the 1988 D-penny is a wonderful example of how even the smallest denomination can hold historical value and collecting interest. Keep an eye on your pocket change, because sometimes a simple penny can tell an extraordinary story.